I'm sorry?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular school board meeting for Independent School District 833. It is Thursday, July 26, 2018, and it is 6:33 p.m. We're at the District Service Center in Cottage Grove. 1.0 roll call.
Pat Driscoll is absent. Heather Hirsch is absent. Michelle Whitty.
Here.
Katie Schwartz.
Here.
Sharon Van Leer.
Here.
Ron Kapp.
Here.
Tracy Burnett.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Three 3.0 is the approval of our agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Sharon and second by Katie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 4.0 are district highlights. 4.1 is the introduction of our new teaching and learning services director. We don't have that on there. Oh, director of. Yep, I didn't read that the right way. Kelly Jansen and Mike Johnson will present.
Good evening, Chair Brunette, board members, and Dr. Jacobus. It's my pleasure this evening to introduce Kelly Jansen as our new Director of Teaching and Learning. Kelly comes to us from Winona Area Public Schools, where she spent 20 years in the district as a student teacher, dean of students, assistant principal, high school principal, interim superintendent, and most recently as their Director of Teaching and Learning. While working with Winona, she led the planning, development, and implementation of district educational support programs in teaching and learning, as well as all staff development. Furthermore, she's dedicated to equity and cultural competence work. Kelly is credited with leading and implementing the AVID program at the middle and high school levels, as well as building and leading the World's Best Workforce Committee. We are so pleased to have one of our very own back home with us. Kelly attended Royal Oaks Elementary and graduated from Woodbury High School. Her exemplary experience, knowledge of the district, and the curriculum process will be a huge asset moving forward. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Kelly Jansen.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, Chair Burnett, members of the board, and Dr. Jacobus. I'm excited to be back. I know Mike used that, but it was a long time ago that I was here. So I'm excited to work with the amazing staff, students, and families of District 833. Since July 2nd, which was my first official day, I've been busy meeting and getting to know the system, having lots of meetings with people, directors, district service center people, principals at all three levels, and our teachers on special assignment, or our teacher leaders. And what I know so far is there are a lot of amazing people here, and there's a lot of great things happening in this district. And I look forward in teaching and learning to build on those great things and build a systemic vision to move forward even further in teaching and learning. So I'm very excited to be here. I truly have a passion for teaching and learning in all of the roles that Mike mentioned. Teaching and learning truly is where my heart is. I think it's the heart and soul of the district. So it's an honor to be here, and I thank you for this opportunity.
Welcome.
You snuck off before any questions. There was time to get ready. I'm teasing. I thought you had any questions.
Don't ask me what year I graduated, though.
I was
okay.
5.0 public comment. At this time, individuals may speak to the school board on any item that is not on tonight's agenda. The board will not respond or discuss your comments, character abuse, or specific complaints. Identifying staff, students, or task force members will not be permitted. The superintendent may be asked to prepare a response to your concerns. Our policy allows 3 minutes per person. If there's anyone who would like to approach the board at this time?
You got one person.
All right. If you could just, when you get to the podium, state your name and the town you live in.
My name is Tanisha Kelly, and I do reside in the school district, I would say. I do have a confidential address, just let that be known. And I know that you were stating that if there is anything pertaining to a specific student or so, that...
Yeah, we can't talk about any specific students for sure.
even if it's mine.
Well,
I think you're kind of familiar a little bit with what I wanted to bring to the table to the board, just a little bit of concerns or so. I did send 3 emails to each one of you guys pertaining to what my concerns were with my son. I'm not giving any names or anything like that, but some issues or things like that that I have with the school district. I have not gotten a response or anything like that. And with me as a parent, as a concerned parent for my child who does have special needs, I did have him here last week. I couldn't stay the full time because he was having some of those behavioral issues. But one thing that I did want to, I guess, kind of bring up my concerns with him not having access to FAPE while he's in the school. And I guess there's a little bit more detail inside of my emails. I did bring copies if you guys would like to see it or so. If you guys would take the time to look at it, you can go over it after the meeting. I'm pretty fine with that because of the three-minute time limit. So if you guys would like to do that, that's okay.
And I know that the board has seen your emails, and I've been talking with Michelle Barris,
Okay.
our Director of Special Education, because she's well aware and trying to work through and the issues as we move forward. So I want you to know that it didn't fall on deaf ears, so to speak, but it's the process would go through Michelle. And so, following up from here, I can talk with you. I can contact you tomorrow, and we can move forward too about where we are.
Yeah, but my concerns is with Michelle, she doesn't write the policy. The board is responsible for writing the policy, and that is one of my concerns. So with speaking with Michelle, she can't change the policy.
Right.
So I have to approach you guys as a whole with any policy concern. So it's not just basically about the school, it's with the policy itself.
Right, and I fully understand that. I think I can talk to you a little bit more in depth, the two of us, and talk about that, the policy concern, because, again, without getting in detail, that policy doesn't pertain to exactly your request, and so we want to look at how we can work through things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can talk about that, but I must say it does specifically rely to his services. So yeah, we can talk more in depth with that. I'll be here at each meeting, so that's fine. That's all I have to say for now.
Thanks.
thank you. 6.0 are the consent items. All consent items are considered routine and non-controversial by the school board and will be approved by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items, but prior to the meeting, board members had the chance to review the items and could have requested that any of those be moved to an action item for individual consideration. So we didn't have that tonight, so I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Sharon and seconded by Ron, and then Ron will give us an update on our gifts.
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. Again, one of the items that we'll approve within our consent agenda item is 6.6, and that is the acceptance of our gifts. We just want to thank all the generous donors throughout our community. This last month, we had over $47,723 donated to the district, which gives us a school year total. It's kind of staggering when you think about it. $545,000 was donated throughout the 17-18 school year. So again, we thank all of our generous monetary donations that come in to the district, but we also don't want to forget about all the time that people dedicate to this district too that don't show up on a piece of paper sometimes. We really want to thank you for that work. And then the ones that did give a monetary donation, those will show up after our meeting tonight. We do the credits at the end, so if you see those folks at the end of our out in the community, say hi to us from us and thank them. So
Thank you, Ron. All those in favor say aye of our consented items.
aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 7.0 are workshop items. We will have those at our August 9th meeting. 8.0 are information items. 8.1 is our 2017-18 district leadership highlights, and Superintendent Jacobus will present that.
Thank you. Each year as we culminate in one school year and get ready for the other school year, we'd like to come to you and highlight the successes and some of the priorities that we had in each department of the school district. So tonight I've asked each cabinet member and department leader to talk a little bit about their accomplishments. Just to start out in general, because many of the things that I would highlight, other folks will highlight more in detail, and I've updated throughout the year. But one to go back to this fall election in 2017, and again, thank our community for the support that they've shown us, and traditionally have shown us in helping us move forward. That really sets us on the path to gain financial stability and financial health, as you know, through Dan's updates. And everyone in this room worked extremely hard to communicate the why we were asking our public and the need. And again, I'm so grateful that we have the support that our public shows to us to help our kids succeed. Then this is the second year, as you know, of our strategic plan. Together we are so WashCo, and with the two objectives of personalization and climate and culture, they really, as you know, work together to improve the environment for students and for employees, and then to ensure that we know kids well. So knowing their strengths and their challenges, we can take them further in a rigorous curriculum and prepare them to move forward after graduation. And in just the second year, that plan has really gathered a lot of support, and it's in the forefront of people's minds, because beyond our formal action steps, every department and school has taken upon themselves to move things forward, to have certain approaches and activities in the schools to personalize for students. At every faculty meeting, there's different elements that the principals have led to really highlight how to work to deeply understand the challenges that kids might have and to get to know them. So it was very impressive to see that plan come together. One of the things that we talked about with moving to two objectives was to keep a strategic plan in the forefront of people's minds, so it doesn't become a plan on the shelf and just is only revisited in the spring. So I'm very proud of the work that everyone in the system has done with the plan. And finally, you'll hear a little bit more about this, but again, through the support of our community, the construction of the new Oltman Middle School. That middle school now being located where it is helps us handle and move forward with the growth that we see for the next 20 years now that it's more in a central location. It gives us a state-of-the-art middle school in our school district now, with community venues such as a larger pool that can handle larger events for the community, and a larger theater for smaller community events. But we're really excited. You're going to hear more about the construction updates, and that school will be up and running before we know it. So those are just top three highlights, and I'd like to turn it over to Mike Jansen. He'll talk from the assistant superintendent standpoint. Julie Nielsen is unable to join us tonight, and so Mike will be sharing her updates as well.
Thanks much. Yes, Julie and I combined our highlights on the slide for tonight. First off, supporting all the principals in their schools. We continue to support our principals like we have in the past 4 years. We enjoy those opportunities where we can provide feedback on staff meetings, leadership team meetings, school and parent events, the instructional walkthroughs, early, mid, and end of year meetings with the principals as well. Also assisting in resolving difficult issues at the school level and at times immediate emergencies with safety and security. And then finally, just meeting with our K-12 principals groups twice during the month, as well as informal group meetings with all of them. Next, in supporting our new principals, Joni and Cynthia, Julie wanted to mention that it's been a pleasure in supporting those two this year. The evaluation process and meeting structure that we have in the district really assist us in getting to understand how to best advise our new principals, allowing them to ask questions and understand things about their school and our system. Julie's been a tremendous resource during the construction process to both of those principals, and I know that Joni and Cynthia are very, very appreciative of this as well. Regarding the K2 math resource adoption, you have learned from Julie's presentation at the May and June board meeting that since February, the elementary math leadership team, consisting of many teachers and principals, and the district leadership team had met on numerous occasions in the spring to discuss and finalize a decision to purchase Bridges in mathematics. This will provide that core resource to support quality instruction in all classrooms. We're providing professional development opportunities starting next week for a couple days and into mid-August to assist our K2 teachers. And then all K2 classroom teachers will be trained before school starts. The next two are regarding the middle school boundary process, so I'll kind of combine those a little bit. Once the changes were established and approved in September, we continue to communicate with families about the decision and impact on approximately 20% of our middle school students. This impacted staffing at each middle school through early spring, and the outstanding assistance from our HR department should not go unnoticed. Since so many middle school students were shifting the boundaries, our scheduling, course offerings, and curricula must also be aligned. And the middle school principals and I collaborated very closely this fall and winter and spring on the daily schedules and course offerings for each grade. Our principals presented in workshop format to the board in May concerning our overall progress and opportunities for the coming school year. Select teaching and learning department staff had met with numerous core and encore teachers at the middle level over the school year to unpack, align, and prioritize standards as well as determine the overall course outcomes. The hiring processes at Cottage Grove Middle and Alternative High School came to fruition this spring. Due to the retirements of Elise and Block and Mike Mahaffey, I had the privilege of leading the hiring process in May and June at Cottage Grove Mid and the Alternative High School with assistance from HR. Although we formally welcome Harold and Nick in August, they've been extremely busy since the 1st of July, meeting with staff and families in their school. I know Kelly Jansen had articulated that she had met with our new principals as well as each level. The processes were the same in both cases at Cottage Grove and the Alternative High School. I sought input from staff initially via email, and then I visited with them personally at their schools in May and June. After 3 rounds of interviews with district leaders and school staff, they certainly earned their positions, and we look forward to their contributions and leadership in the district. And finally, the district management group for the elementary and secondary. Over the course of the year, Julie and I facilitated this process with elementary and secondary groups in their action planning. Our vision was to strengthen the elementary literacy by ensuring that consistency in the amount of time dedicated to the literacy block with aligned resources and support for teachers. Pine Hill and Hillside altered their schedules, and they were the pilot sites this past year, and now we're going to center on progress monitoring and collecting valuable feedback this next year. At the secondary level, our vision is to provide all struggling students with additional time and targeted interventions with a content-strong teacher via the RTI model. And our pilot sites are Park and Woodbury High and Woodbury Middle. They will be piloting refined RTI models as well. Teacher on special assignment, Leah Boulos, was instrumental in the secondary progress, and we've actually advanced our progress at all middle schools anyway, not just at Woodbury Mid, with our alignment work. Thank you very much, and at this time I'd like to introduce Special Education Supervisor Kristen Jansen, who will update the board regarding special education.
Before we, and I didn't talk to you, we'd like to give you a chance to ask any questions, and then we keep a dialogue. That's not your, I forgot to mention that as we start. So if there's any questions that you'd like to ask, rather than waiting till the end and helping out as far as the dialogue.
Any questions?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Kristen Johnson, everyone.
Good evening, school board members and Dr. Jacobus. I'm here to present the highlights of the 17-18 school year in special education. New beginnings this year. Our team screened and interviewed over 184 teachers and hired and onboarded over 70 new staff members to special services. We opened 12 new center-based high-needs classrooms across the district. Professional development. We planned and held over 40 trainings and workshops for paras, teachers, parents, and administrators, including our mental health fair that featured Kat Perkins. Paraprofessionals. Our team was awarded a grant through Metro Exu for training for special services paraprofessionals. Attendance was on a voluntary basis, and the topics for the 3 workshops were roles and responsibilities, ethics, and behavior management, autism spectrum disorder. In early childhood, I was hired in February, so that's been a wonderful experience for me here in South Washington County. The general and special education preschool teachers have strengthened their partnership to collaborate on a variety of topics, including our Pyramid Grant for Social Emotional Learning and our TS Gold Data Collection Assessment. We do this to increase the quality of services to our earliest learners. Also, our early childhood special ed Birth to Two team is moving to a year-round stretch calendar. In elementary this year, Pine Hill and Hillside piloted iReady reading and math intervention curriculum. Both schools shifted to a different master schedule to allow a more streamlined service delivery model for special education students. Social workers were able to plan for some specific training on mental health. They also initiated partnerships with mental health professionals throughout our community. In our secondary schools, the middle and high school have begun working on redesigning and aligning the special education delivery model. This work will continue next year. Cottage Grove Middle and Woodbury Middle participated in piloting iReady reading and math intervention curriculum and saw some great gains in our students. In transition, our 18 to 21 program, we serve over 74 students in this program. Our students participated in 2 seasonal projects, Afton Alps and the Minnesota State Fair. The students packed over 5 tons of food for the district weekend food packs. 62% of our students are involved in competitive employment. 3 students were involved in intern projects this year with Carpentry, Blaine Brothers Trucking, and Gillette Hospital.
Any questions?
Just maybe one quick one. With the paras and that grant, what was the participation like? Because it was voluntary. Do we feel like we had a pretty good showing of paras taking advantage of it, or?
We did. We did have a good turnout of our paraprofessionals participating, and I think they're really wanting the training and really eager to be participants. And
is that something that's on an annual, we can go for this grant every year, or is it just a one-time deal?
we will be working with continuing our training for the paraprofessionals in the upcoming, for next year. Not particularly through this grant, I don't believe.
And that was a good question. I should mention that Michelle wasn't able to be here, and thank you for being here.
Yes.
The paraprofessionals really are hungry for that type of training. There isn't enough time to train, and because they're dealing with kids that come in with different needs, that as far as when we offer, having people attend is not a worry. They all want to be there. And then I know that Kevin and Brian and I have talked a little bit about individually about how we can move professional development into a more consistent basis for our paraprofessionals.
Other questions? Okay. I'd like to introduce Shelley Schaefer next, our Director of Communications and Community Relations. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Burnett, board members, Dr. Jacobus. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. I have successfully completed my first year here, and it was a pleasure to share the good stories of the staff and our students throughout the last year. When I started, we were on the cusp of a referendum campaign, and our communications team worked hard to create an 8-week series of communications to our community. We coordinated 100 meetings throughout the district throughout that time, and we also put together a special newsletter that went to every household. As Dr. Jacobus said, the 3 questions passed successfully, and we are very grateful to our community for their support. We really put an emphasis this year on positive media coverage, and along with our great articles that we get in our local papers, we tried to shift the focus as well to TV media coverage as well. And as a result, we had Twin Cities Live come and cover Gray Cloud Elementary as well as Woodbury Middle School. We had Fox News cover 8 of our students that received perfect ACT scores. And we also had Care 11 come and highlight our greening project with Middleton Elementary and Lake Middle School. We put an emphasis on social media engagement and have worked very intentionally to try to increase that engagement. Along with Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel, we also added an Instagram account for the district. We've seen a really high level of engagement with Facebook and have found that videos and photos really are the place that engages folks the most, so we've been very intentional about trying to rotate that throughout our social media. We currently have over 5,600 followers on Facebook account, and that includes an increase of 1,260 followers just in the last year. So we increased our followers by 28% this last year. And just in the last month, we've shared 15 stories on Facebook, which has been seen a combined total of 41,403 times. Internally, we kicked off a Conversations with Keith initiative with staff, which was an opportunity for him to get out throughout the district and meet with folks to really get to know them on a personal level and learn a little bit more about them. It's a chance for him to model the personalization that we have our teachers doing with our students. And we look forward to further opportunities throughout the next year to engage with staff internally and hear their voices. The School Communicators Committee is a committee that's near and dear to my heart. As a parent, I sat on the committee, and this year was very intentional about increasing the amount of participation. It was very important to myself in the district to make sure that every voice is heard, so I worked with the principals to get out Blackboard Connect messages and messages throughout their community to make sure that every school is represented at the table, and very excited to report that we have almost every school at the table, so we'll work to make sure that's 100% next year. This group of folks is just incredibly engaged, and not only do they come to our monthly meetings, but then there was a number of them that went to the Capitol this year to work on our district initiatives. Community engagement, we work extensively throughout the community. We have board representatives on our Chamber of Commerce's. We've given presentations to them in the past. We gave regular presentations to the Woodbury Citizens Academy. We participated in the Cottage Grove and Woodbury Expos this last year, presented at the Woodbury Realtor Forum, and have worked with Second Harvest Heartland on our No Kid Hungry initiative, and looking forward to additional opportunities for outreach and engagement in the coming year. We also are working on a website redesign. So industry standards suggest that every 3 years we do a refresh of our website. We last refreshed 5 years ago in 2013. Along with making the website more user-friendly, the added benefits will be to improve security by having the site hosted by a reputable third-party vendor who can offer an increased amount of support, as well as better aligning us with ADA compliance according to a new federal law that took effect on January 18th of 2018. The district has already been taking steps to improve ADA compliance on our website, and we will be fully compliant with its launch. We're estimating around December to the January timeline. I also just want to close by thanking our incredible communications team. We have Laura Micklig, Cassandra Knudsen, and Ben Reichel offer support as webmaster. They've done a fantastic job throughout the year offering support to the district both internally and externally. And would also like to highlight the past spring, Cassandra Knudsen was presented the Bruce Bauer New Professional Award by the Minnesota School PR Association. So we were very excited for her and just grateful for everyone's excellent work. Any questions?
Well, I was kind of curious, what does ADA compliance for your website mean?
Yeah, so there is a list, and Cassandra Knudsen on our staff has been doing extensive training on this, but it essentially is taking pieces where we've learned that PDFs are not ADA compliant. They need to be able to be very clearly heard or written out in a way that those with disabilities can gather that information. Photos need to have a description on there. So obviously for folks that can't see it, they can at least hear what the picture will say. So a number of those different criteria. Yeah. All right. So it's my pleasure to introduce Christine Lamperty, who's the operations manager for community education.
Good evening. I am actually here for Bob Lawrence, who is in his almost first night of the play as director, so he's, I'm sure, very stressed out right now. So he has asked me to share a little bit about our year. So as you know, community education works to provide lifelong learning opportunities for folks in our community, so all ages. And he would like me to highlight just a few specific areas where we've seen some increases in participation this past year. So in our early childhood family education program, we saw an increase of 20% of students, mostly due to added classes and increased outreach efforts. We saw an increase across the board in all community ed classes with over 15,000 unduplicated students. So we're reaching a really good number, that is adult and youth, of residents in our communities. We provided over 32,000 service hours at the senior center. That is a duplicate number. We have many members that come and will participate in many opportunities. Some are there every day. Some come 1 or 2 times, maybe for a defensive driving class, take a trip or a tour, those kinds of things. We had over 667,000 hours of use in our facilities. That's a lot. You can ask our custodians. They'll tell you it's a lot. That is an 11% increase over last year. We had 240,000 users during those hours. So as you can see, we're getting our taxpayers in to come in and access the investment they've made in our schools. So that's really great. There are 3 programs that Bob would like me to highlight that had either some significant changes or great things that have taken place this past year. Our Access program, which is our adult basic education program, has spent time over the past year working with our neighbors to the south, Hastings, to form a new consortium. So we are no longer called Access. It's the Great Rivers Adult Education Consortium. We actually combined efforts with Hastings to maximize our resources. And we are the fiscal agent for this program. So the consortium actually began on July 1. And we hope to have an increase in impact of our adult learners. Some of the things that we are able to do is provide an opportunity for folks to come back and get a diploma or a GED. They can take skills classes, and they can come back and they can come and work with us on English language learning. And a good percentage of the adults that are in our English language learning program are actually parents of our students. So we are trying to work really closely with student services over here. So if they're seeing folks come in with a need, we then can have the ability to work with those families. I think you heard a report from Early Childhood earlier in the spring this year about a collaboration that was happening with community education, early childhood programming, and early childhood special education programming. This is definitely a highlight because we're now able to more effectively meet the needs of our youngest learners through alignment of curriculum, assessments, and staff development. So I know they've worked really hard to align those things, and their staff are all on the same page, and they're working really great together. Summer is busy. We have all kinds of opportunities happening out in our buildings. We have youth enrichment. We have adult programming that's going on, camps and clinics, swim lessons, gymnastics. It's busy. For example, last week alone, we had over 4,000 students participating in one way or another in our district. That is a duplicate number. Many of the students that participate in the programs cross over. They may participate in an enrichment class and then take a swimming lesson. So we see a lot of activity in the summer. We've also continued to expand learning opportunities with the Mixed and Summer Campus. And new this year is Youth Force, which is a program that targets middle school students. And all of the programs that we're offering during the summer offer summer academic support as well as enrichment and fun. Now we also know that we can't reach all the students in our communities. Some of them can't get to the location we have a program offered in. There's a variety of reasons, and we know that. So we have what is called the Schoolie Bus. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a big silver bus that students painted. It's very hard to miss. So the Schoolie Bus goes out to our communities, and they work with youth that can't get to us. So we come to them. So the Schoolie Bus is out 4 nights a week, and they are out for 9 weeks. So it's all kinds of enrichment programming, physical activities, and then we also provide a snack or a meal. So that is what I have. Any questions?
Just curious how everybody's getting around with the parking lot all torn
The
up.
parking lot is interesting. Tomorrow they will blacktop, put the first layer down, so we're really excited over at Community Ed. So, yeah.
And then maybe this is a question I know for Mike. Are we going to be a little tougher then on the semis parking on that lot when it gets all redone?
I can speak a little bit to that. We actually worked with the contractor to draw up a plan. They've added some medians between the Applebee's and the program center with the intention of lining for semis. There will also be a sign that will be posted that semis are not allowed in the community ed or the district program center, half of that lot, between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. I don't know that it's going to keep them out, but it should free up the spaces for staff and participants, and we won't have to be circling around the
Yeah, I was
semis.
just more worried about the damage, not to be
Yeah.
a little inclusive in share parking lots,
Yeah.
but just a matter of that big equipment in there, if the parking lot can sustain that kind of
And we-
weight, especially when they're full, they're
Yeah.
loaded.
We were very mindful about how we set up the new structure, so hopefully we'll see less of that.
Good, thanks.
You're welcome. So I am pleased to introduce Dan Pyan from our finance department.
Thank you, Christine. Good evening, everybody. I'll just give you a few brief highlights of some of the departments in finance and operations. Finance, it was a good year again for awards. We received the Minnesota School Finance Award, and that was actually about for the first time in 3 or 4 years. We also received the Certificate of Excellence for our comprehensive annual financial report. And we received that from ASBO International, which is the National Group of School Business Officials. And this was the 11th year in a row that we've won that award. And then also we had an individual award. Sarah Gerard, one of our account specialists, was named MASBO's Rising Star. And we're very, very proud of Sarah. It's quite a feat when you figure that there's 600 people, members of MASBO, which is the Minnesota Association of School Business Officials. And one of the qualifications was you had to be within your first 3 years. So I estimate there's at least 150 to 200 people in that group that are in that category, and Sarah was named the Rising Star. Unfortunately, she's too good, and now she received a position as a business manager of a district up north, so we'll have to find another Rising Star next year. And also our audit went well, and it's getting better every year. And once again, it was classified as unqualified audit, meaning that everything was within GASB standards, and everything was reported accurately and truly. The payroll department, it's really been a kind of a rough couple months because we had all these contracts settled at one time, and everybody wants their retro pay. And it's, when you consider that they have to figure out retro pay for 2,000 employees, it takes a long time. And in conjunction with Human Resources, they pulled all that off. In general, they issue about over 75,000 checks every year, and they issue about 4,400 W-2s, and this is all done by 4 people in conjunction with Human Resources. Nutrition Services, new point of sale system, which doesn't sound real exciting unless you're a bean counter, but this is the first new one we've had in the last 20 years, so they're very excited about that. We increased our reimbursable lunches by 239 per day. I mean, you have to remember that we serve 1 million lunches a day, meals a day, a year, and but to increase them by 200, it's only 2.3%, but 239 more meals served every day in our district is a lot. And that's our goal, is to make sure everybody has something to eat. And obviously, if they want to bring their food from home, that's fine. But as we know, if they're participating in our program, that they're eating, they're getting something to eat. We also piloted after-school snack program at Crestview, and we added 2 summer feeding sites. Transportation, of course, we transport over 15,000 students per day. We cover over 2 million miles a year. And they concentrate a lot on their culture and climate incentives, and things like some of the fundraisers they did for the Angel Fund and things like that. And they also tried to incorporate some more culture and climate within their own, starting things like Waffle Wednesday and things like that. So the transportation department is, we're always short on drivers, so if anyone's watching and you want to drive a bus, give us a call. But besides that, it's been a great year. So with that, I will introduce Kevin Witherspoon, our Director of Human Resources.
Good evening. Well, we've been really busy in the Human Resource Department. We've increased our recruiting efforts by developing relationships with colleges and universities. So we currently have relationships with the University of Minnesota, University of St. Thomas, and Metro State. We use 18 recruitment sources, Indeed, Monster. We've just started to get involved in LinkedIn as a new way to promote some of our positions. Just hearing from Shelley tonight, it might be a good idea to use our Facebook account and other things if that many people are actually hitting on it and looking for those, so that would be great. We attended 8 local career fairs. The biggest one, of course, was at the Minneapolis Convention Center, the Minnesota Education Job Fair. We went to 1 out-of-state career fair, and that was at Baylor University. We're looking at recruiting sources actually expanding and looking at the Wellstone Center or some other places for some of our recruiting efforts as well. We hired 266 new employees, and we hired or rehired 266 new employees. Negotiated, settled, and ratified 6 employee contracts. We're currently negotiating with 4 more bargaining units, so bus mechanics, paraprofessionals, food service, and maintenance. 94% of our employees attended professional development opportunities around cultural awareness and enhancing work climate culture and/or work-life balance. And then finally, we reduced the district health insurance cost by 6% with soliciting bids we're up for bid, and that will come to the board in August for final approval of the bid, but it's a 6% decrease. So it saves us about $1.4 million. That'll take questions. Thank you. And next is Christine Schaefer.
Good evening, board members. Dr. Jacobus. I would like to share just a few highlights from the Office of Equity and Integration. You've heard from me in the past talk about the work we're doing with staff around culture responsive teaching and learning with Dr. Shraki Holly. Dr. Holly has presented to all teachers and district staff for the past 3 years and has coached teachers in 10 of our schools up to this date. Dr. Holly will continue to coach additional schools this coming school year. In our efforts to sustain and enhance our culture responsive teaching, we've hired 2 CRT coaches, Jennifer Terry and Gina Spoo. They are trained by Dr. Holly and will be working with leaders and staff to provide support and ensure fidelity of the culture responsive strategies in these next coming years. Also, as part of the Equity and Integration programming, our school district participates in 2 collaborations with other school districts. One being our collaboration with St. Paul Public Schools, where we have 16 preschool students from St. Paul attend Woodbury Elementary School. The other is a new collaboration with District 196, Apple Valley Egan. This was a new collaboration this past school year where 13 Crestview Elementary students had the opportunity to attend a Young Scholar STEM Explorers Camp. This is a 5-day camp in June where students had the opportunity to experience hands-on learning in math and science, interact with District 196 students, and meet lots of other kids. We hope to expand this opportunity next year because it was a huge success. As part of our continued professional development around creating a positive culture and climate for all staff and students in our district, this coming school year we have 10 district leaders and school principals from around the district attending the Institute for Courageous Principal Leadership. This is a program through Minnesota State University Mankato, the Edina campus. This group of leaders will attend sessions throughout the school year to strengthen leadership skills and strengthen cultural competence, with the goal of every child being engaged, educated, included, and fully achieving. This aligns with our district focus of closing achievement gaps for all students of color. Lastly, this past school year we had several community engagement events around our district. This included Latino family events, Hmong New Year, African American events, and Native American family events. This coming school year we'll plan to provide similar events again, and also we'd like to enhance this work by providing affinity group sessions for parents of color and parents raising children of color, with the goal of bringing parents together for fellowship and community building. questions? All right, next I'd like to introduce Brian Booth, Director of Professional Development and Research and Evaluation.
Hi, everybody. When we practiced this line got a bit of a groan from the rest of Cabinet, but I'm going to say it anyways. If the mission of the school district is to ignite a passion for lifelong learning, then there is no greater measure that we could use than how our staff is continuing to learn and grow. Okay, just checking. And you'll also notice many of the Cabinet members who've spoken so far each referenced professional development as well. And it shows that professional learning and growth for our staff is a high priority for this district, and I appreciate the support for it. This year, the staff in the South Washington County School District completed well over 20,000 hours that we know of. There is a lot of stuff that we don't know if a staff member maybe is taking classes on their own and just hasn't submitted them to our tracking system, which is PD Express. And so those hours include trainings in math and literacy and culturally and linguistically responsive teaching and learning. And so we have seen just tremendous growth in the way in which we are learning here in this district. The other hat that I wear is the assessment hat, and I am incredibly proud of our research evaluation and assessment team. I cannot get through a presentation without acknowledging, as you know, Gretchen Chilcott, who is the senior most district assessment coordinator in the state of Minnesota. And she knows her job, and she knows it well, and she helps mentor and support other assessment coordinators across the state, is intimately involved in what the Minnesota Department of Ed is doing, and so an incredible asset to this district. Our assessment department works collaboratively across all of our schools to support assessment teams for all of kind of the high stakes assessments that are given either state or national. But we also include within that some of our local assessments that we give that aren't maybe often talked about, which is benchmark assessments in literacy, assessing math concepts in math, IB testing, AP testing, all of those other things that maybe we don't give a whole lot of time and attention to, but are incredibly important. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the team that's involved. All of the folks I'm about to mention are teachers on special assignment in our, and many of them are housed out in the schools and work individually with their schools. And so they are Sarah Bebo, James McGee, Tom Ross, Chuck Paulson, Michelle Grundner, Dave Donnelly, Aaron Donarski, Ian Bronson, Stacy Hines, Lisa Hyland, Catherine Jenkins, Julie Methvin, and Sue Nicholas. And those folks work collaboratively with all of their principals to make sure that they are supporting any of the assessment needs of their school. And then finally, when asked, what is a point of pride for the team that I get to work with, I think this last year, and I call out specifically the technology department and Bob Berkowitz, and then the teaching and learning department under the previous leadership with Matt Dorschner, and now welcoming Kelly to the team and excited to work with her. It's been a lot of fun to work with those teams and really try to build a strong partnership to implement the strategic plan. Any questions?
I should mention the groan about the comment wasn't about the comment itself, because we all agree with it. It was how it was delivered.
My delivery. Okay. With that, I'd like to introduce the new Director of Teaching and Learning, Kelly Jansen.
Good evening again. So giving a wrap of last year seems unique coming from me since I started July 2nd, but as Brian mentioned, we truly have an amazing team here, and it's been awesome to work with this cabinet, and Julie and Mike in particular, and Brian and Bob have really supported me and helped me learn about the great things that have happened last year. So in elementary, we continued to work on building relationships across the system through personalizing instruction and building relationships with families. We also implemented some literacy non-negotiables, meaning those are expectations across all of the elementaries throughout the building or throughout the district. Those are a 90-minute literacy block that each teacher would have their own class for literacy versus being content specialists, and 30 minutes of intervention time. We also moved forward with the implementation of K-2 standards-based instruction and standards-based report cards, which clearly defines what we really believe is important for that student to move to the next level. And these are things that we're guaranteed in viable learning throughout our system. So families can expect what their child needs to know, and then what is the success criteria that goes with that? What does success look for that standard? It was mentioned previously, we are moving forward with the adoption of our K-2 math resource. There's a lot of hands on this, and I'm excited to roll it out. Coming in, I know of the program Bridges. It is a very forward-thinking program. It's a very progressive way of teaching math. So that was a selected curriculum says a lot about the willingness and the mindset of the teachers to move forward. And finally, in elementary, it was mentioned the culturally and linguistically responsive teaching has continued with the coaching and the impact on the classroom and having those conversations about what is our work with CLRT doing for our classrooms. At the secondary level, they continued to work on personalization as well and building relationships with students through intentional personal communication, finding out those adults or young adults that don't have a connection to the school and really reaching out to them. And also scheduling some advisory time so that there's some intentional communications about career planning and things like that. The CLRT continued with the coaching at our secondary sites as well. And the secondary also embarked on the standards-based instruction conversation. They began the unpacking the state standards and prioritizing those benchmarks, working toward that viable curriculum in our core content areas throughout all of our secondary schools. So if a student moves from one school to another, there's a guaranteed core content that student would be expected to learn. The last piece of secondary was 3 of our sites piloted Schoology, which is a learning management system. I have some experience in Schoology, and it can do some amazing things for families and for kids. So I look forward to rolling that out next year to all of our secondary schools to really help with that personalizing learning and communicating the standards-based progress to parents. So I think Schoology, the next year, I look forward to doing that. As Brian mentioned, intentionally connecting equity and integration, technology, professional development, REA is going to be wonderful. This staff works very hard. I know he named all those people. I won't even try because I only see faces right now. I'm trying to connect names, but it's been an amazing start. And as you see, there was a lot of great things that happened last year in 833 and TLS. So I will try to answer any questions, but I'm sure I will rely on some of my colleagues if you have any. Thank you. Oh, and we saved the best for last. Our last speaker is Bob Berkowitz in technology.
Members of the board, Dr. Jacobus, members of the community, it's my pleasure to speak tonight about last year in technology. We had a great year. We had a lot going on, but I will say my colleagues have already set this up as working together to achieve a common goal made all the difference in the world for all of our departments. And so the focus for technology was really on personalization of learning in the classroom. And we've talked about it every year, but this year we've finally been able to just get into the classroom and work on that. And so the first thing I want to talk about is Seesaw at the elementary levels, grades K to 2. This year we focused on grades 1 and 2. So there were 126 teachers, grades 1 and 2. All of those teachers received training in small groups, personalized training, and then follow-up training throughout the year in their classrooms for support. And so we did presentations on Schoology. We heard it from teachers' perspectives throughout the year of how great it was. But the numbers that we ran today, there were over 100,000 items posted to Schoology in first and second grade. So 100,000 items, just first and second grade. And so we also heard that the community or the parents were able to see what happened. Over 200,000 visits to first and second grade. So you think about how we use that tool as a framework to be able to demonstrate standards-based instruction and mastery of learning, and the parents were part of that 200,000 times. So that was super exciting. Kelly mentioned Schoology. We did launch Schoology last year as a pilot. It was a wickedly successful pilot. The last 12 months, we had 2.7 million visits to Schoology. And so that 2.47 million is students, which we would expect. 155,000 of those were staff visiting, and 72,000 visits from 3 schools for parents. And so again, we've been able to pull our community in to see what our kids are doing and be able to interact. And so super excited about that. We did deploy a single sign-on to make all of that easier this year, We'll continue to grow that. It just is a single place where staff can go and students can go to sign on and get into all of these complex systems. The technology support, as we start to look at personalization, one of the things we want to do is make sure that students have access to technology. And so access to technology, there's a couple ways we can do it. For last year, we didn't spend a lot of new money to buy new things to get things into the classroom. We refreshed equipment that we had used for social studies. So all of our 6th and 7th grade social studies iPads were refreshed last year. And we reused those older iPads for 1st and 2nd grade for Seesaw. And so we're trying to make the most out of the equipment we have, but really to look at how do we get access to as many students as possible, especially as we get into things like Schoology, where we're expecting there to be access to Schoology. So we have to keep looking at that, at the number of devices and the availability throughout the day. Just 2 last items that I need to speak every year, once a year. I talk about our requirements for the Children's Internet Protection Act. So we do content filter everything that comes in and out of our internet. We use our firewall to do that. And also we teach a curriculum of digital citizenship beginning every fall, and we finish up kind of right around Christmas in most of our schools. And so those are required, but we're actually very proud of the work that we do to protect our kids. So any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. (9.0) discussion items. 9.1 is the renaming of the current Oltman Middle School pool. Our interim director of construction management, Mike Vogel, will join us.
Thank you, Chair Burnett, school board members, Dr. Jacobus. Our purpose this evening is to bring to you for discussion purposes only the process for renaming the Oltman Middle School, old Oltman Middle School pool. As you know, the new Oltman Middle School will have a pool, and we are required to have separate names for all of our pools for both licensing and programming purposes. And so we have looked at the district policy for how to go about renaming that pool. The policy says that the names likely, we shall be given names likely to retain meaning for students and citizens during the projected life of the facility. The administration is recommending that the pool receive a name that is both simple, descriptive, and non-controversial. And the pool will be used primarily for community activities, for daytime swimming and lessons and aquatic programs. And so the recommendation that we would put forward to the board is that we rename the pool the South Washington County Schools Community Pool. With that, we would take any questions that you have. It's a discussion item today. We'll bring it back to you at the next board meeting for board approval.
Any questions, comments?
Can I ask a different question of Mike? Really quick, is that okay?
Well, I just got one for the
Okay,
pool.
go ahead. Yep.
When we get ready to brand it, once the new name is approved, have we thought about how the branding will be? Is it going to be on the fascia of the building, of the parking lot? I mean, have we thought about how it's going to be communicated? Because currently Oltman's all together, so it's all one brick and mortar building, but that won't be true anymore. So are we going to brand it in that way too?
Well, I think, first of all, the connecting link between will be Nuevas Fronteras and the pool will be torn down next summer of 2019. And that parking lot this year will currently serve as the main entry point into Nuevas Fronteras. Next year, it will become primarily the staff parking area, staff and visitor parking area. The branding would be really a community education function. You know, it will be how they determine to use it in their community ed brochures and to advertise it there. So Christine Lamberty is here and could maybe address some of your questions in regard to how they propose to market that pool in the future.
Well, and well, then I guess then a little bit of a concern. I mean, we've done a really good job of branding every one of the schools. When you drive into any one of our schools, they all have kind of a consistent sign, and I would hope that we do that with this facility too then.
Yep, I spoke with Kwame today, and what we were thinking, because South Washington County Schools Community Education Pools is long, we would have our 833 symbol and then say community pool where the entrance was on the building, so because people will need to know where they're coming in. And then through the brochures, obviously the full name can be on the label, but it would have our logo along with community pool. That's what we talked about today. I don't know if that answers
It'll be
that
definitely
fully.
separate from Nuevas Fronteras.
Yes, yes. It will, because the building won't connect any longer.
I just know how much they cost for signage, and,
Yeah.
and
I think what we would probably propose is just lettering on the front facade of the pool area, and not have a separate sign out on the boulevard or in the parking space, because that's actually shared parking with the other businesses located in that strip mall, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Right, that was our thought, not a monument, but up on the building itself. So you can clearly see it as you come in. Where do you have to go to get to the pool, and what with our logo and the community pool, the entrance.
Question about, I guess mine is more on the side of, the other pools make sense because for middle school we have to have that as part of the curriculum for physical education. But is this going to be able to sustain itself? The cost of the pool going to be able to sustain itself with the cost, with the fees that we would get from the swimming lessons and all that?
Well, again, I don't really feel qualified to answer that question. I think that Christine might be able to help out, but the real thing about that is that we put a pretty significant amount of money into that pool to renovate it over the last half dozen years. We replaced the locker rooms, we replaced the pool filtration system. So we have a lot of money invested in that pool. We'd like to see it operational, and our hope is that the demand, as the community grows, the demand for pool use will be there, and that it'll be a viable concern for the school district.
The other issue is mainly we can use it for community lessons and swimming programs during the day, which we cannot do in our current pools because kids are, and obviously they should be in there. And so that pool gives us another dimension to offer the community aquatic services. And then as Mike said, we really did a lot of work with it. So at the timing now then to not utilize the pool and say close it didn't make sense for the community right now and the money we've invested. But I think we can do the analysis on the rental. I'm not sure that our rental brings in enough that pays for the full maintenance, but again, the community service element of it we felt was important at this time.
So I was just wondering, so is Nuevas Fronteras looking good, construction on time and all of that?
I would say it's not without its challenges. We obviously have a very significant renovation process ongoing. We have completed all of the demolition, associate both the exterior portions of the building and the interior demolitions. We've got all of the underground plumbing work on the interior of the building completed and floors replaced. That step had to be done before we could start adding walls and building out for the new classroom spaces that are going to be used. We're targeting August 17th for substantial completion. I spent about 2 hours with the Krauss-Anderson folks this afternoon talking about whether or not that's a viable alternative, and I think it's going to take us right down to the wire to get that building done. I would just remind folks that this is a 3-phase process. This is the first phase. The second phase will be to construct new spaces for new admin areas, new kitchen and cafeteria, serving areas. That will take place during the course of the 2018-19 school year. And then next summer, the third phase will be to renovate some further spaces within the building to create a half dozen new classrooms for future growth of the program. So folks, I think, are well aware that they're going to be working and their students will be learning in an environment that is going to be under construction throughout the course of the year. And Our goal is to make sure that they have a safe and secure learning environment for the 2018-19 school year, and we're doing everything that we can to make sure that it's ready for the start of school September 4th, 5th, whatever day that happens to be. So,
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments on the pool name? All right, thank you.
thank you.
10.0 action items. 10.1 is the approval of policy 516. Our Director of Human Services, Kevin Witherspoon.
Hi, good evening. I'm here tonight filling in for Michelle Barris. Tonight I'm here to seek approval of policy 516, student medication policy. Policy 516 has been reviewed and revised to reflect updates in Minnesota statute and current school nursing practices and procedures. This policy was brought forward for review and questions at the June 21st board meeting. At that time, there were no questions or concerns. Administration recommends approval of the changes to policy 516.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
All right, so moved by Michelle, second by Sharon. Any questions? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. 10.2, approval of long-term facility maintenance plan. Director of Finance, Dan Pyan.
Good evening again, everybody. You're probably getting used to this by now, how this long-term facility maintenance plan thing works. This is the third year already that this program has been in place. South Washington County Schools has always been fortunate to be able to participate in the alternative facilities plan and alternative facilities program, and that one allowed the largest 25 school districts to levy and bond to do improvements, to do replacements to the buildings and repair and maintenance. Since then, the state legislature had allowed every district to get into the plan and change it to long-term facility maintenance. And with that, there are some caveats and hoops that you need to jump through, and they're not real serious, but however, every year we have to have it done by July 31st. So tonight's step is for the board to approve our revenue application and our expenditure plan for long-term facility maintenance. And then we have the superintendent will sign a statement of insurances, and we'll send that off to get there by the end of the month. Attached in the agenda is the revenue application and the plan. Now, the revenue for long-term facility maintenance is a combination of levy and bonding. And if you looked at the revenues and you looked at the expenditures, you're thinking, how does this work? They're not all coming in the same way. Well, what we do is every 2 years we bond for the projects we have coming up, and then we use the levies to pay the debt service on those bonds. There's a page of our expenditure plan for the next 10 years. And this thing will change over the 10 years, but really we're focusing on what's going to happen next year, which I left you a detailed list in there. And also what's going to happen, in the next couple of years, and then things will change along the way. We can't possibly have a plan that's going to stay the same for the next 10 years. But this is all part of the process to go to Department of Education, have them approve this. So I'll entertain any questions, and I would ask you to approve this plan so that we can send the information up to the Department of Education and continue on our way with our long-term facility maintenance. I hope you reviewed, what's going on in these buildings. I'm glad that we include this in the packet so that there's a record of what we're planning to do each year. And then, people are driving around and say, geez, what are they doing that for? What are they doing that for? Well, you can see it was in the plan. And you probably saw a lot of parking lots this year, and we already had some parking lot discussions. So I'll leave it at that, and entertain any questions.
All right, entertain a motion to approve the long-term facility maintenance plan.
Second.
All right, moved by Katie, second by Sharon. Any questions?
Yes.
When we talk about Oatman, this is obviously the old Oatman?
Yes, on this plan, yeah. No, we have to, it's not done yet, but we're going to start fixing
Well,
it.
yeah, because I'm like, replace classroom casework. I'm like, is it even in there yet? So that would be, so it was done prior to. And like the Nuevas then, that's actually the Nuevas portion of Crestview?
No,
Is
for
that-
this year, they might have, well, maybe Mike can answer that. They might have had them both. It must have been the old portion. Mike, do you know?
They both refer to
Same building, because it's painting the hallways and the commons at NFSI. But the open on here refers to the new Nuevas.
Okay.
So, Woodbury High School theater seats, 1920, is that still in the plan?
Well, I think we're going to put in like bleachers instead.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little cheaper. No.
Just making sure.
Wooden
I'm
bleachers.
I'm watching.
No, yes, this year we're going to replace the actual bleachers in the gymnasium, and then next year we're going to, we plan on replacing the theater seats in the auditorium.
Any other questions?
Well, I don't know if you'll know the answer to this. It's not a part of this recommendation, but the money that we got from coming from the state around security, do we have a feel of how much this district is going to receive with the funding that was just passed by the legislature?
That funding is all a grant system, so nobody knows until they apply for the grants. So I'm sorry, but I shouldn't have said so. Our grant, I talked to Jody and Kwame and our grant, Jody, our grant administrator, and she was going to watch the webinar on how it all works. It's a little confusing when they're doing it, but that's kind of par for the course, because they're doing it by building or school, but say if we were going to improve our paging system in 4 different buildings, well, we do it in one project, but what if we don't all 4 get approved? So we're kind of feeling that out right now, but it's a grant system that the MDE has just sent out the rules, and people are just kind of trying to figure out how it works. So there's really no guarantees on getting things. The word is that most of it, I shouldn't say most of it, but the preference is going to be given to more of the outstate.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. I had a really, this is a short presentation tonight, so, but I can tell you one real short joke I heard today. So this is not original. I won't take any credit for it.
The other ones?
So 3 strips of bacon and 2 eggs walk into a bar. Did you just hear this one? And the bartender says, no, get out of here. We don't serve breakfast here.
Just got it.
Yeah. He hasn't given up on this finance job yet.
No, he better not.
Okay, 10.3, approval of 1819 Minnesota State High School League membership. Assistant Superintendent Mike Johnson.
Good evening again. Every year, the State High School League requires our school board to authorize our membership. The resolution affirms that first, the school board delegates the control, supervision, and regulation of all league-sponsored activities to the MSHSL. Secondly, that the school board adopts the constitution, bylaws, and rules and regs of the league. And last, that the administration and responsibility for supervising all of our activities is assigned to our official school representative, who would in turn be the 3 ADs of our large schools, high schools. As part of the resolution, all board members confirmed that they have viewed the Why We Play video that was sent to them electronically. I know you had done so over the past couple months because I'd gotten confirmation today on that, and that you received the code of conduct statement that is actually on my report. So tonight I ask to approve the attached resolution to authorize membership in and the payment of annual dues of $10,200 to the State High School League for fiscal year 2018-19.
I will entertain a motion to approve. Moved by Sharon and second by Katie. Any questions, comments?
I just have one. So the Why We Play video is awesome and amazing. And so I just would love if the activities directors could sort of maybe look at their reports to us and how they communicate to share some of that information, not just about winning. So, you know, and maybe look at how we bring forward some of the kids that meet the school board. And I don't know what those other objectives are, but, you know, kind of viewing this for the second or third year as, you know, that is what are the other measures of sportsmanship and participation that and I feel like it would be nice if we as leadership can find some way to model that in terms of, you know, how we recognize students or activities, participation.
No, absolutely, and I do not think that'll be a problem whatsoever because I know in speaking with all three activities directors, there are many excellent examples of sportsmanship in all athletics and activities for each one of the three high schools. I don't think that would be a problem whatsoever, and we can definitely add that to that presentation.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 11.0 reports and comments. 11.1 is our superintendent's report.
Thank you. I wanted to give you an update on construction. Mike has provided information, and we'll have a little bit more extensive information in our district newsletter that'll be coming out. But as you know, we have many projects going on, and first to start at Woodbury Middle School, the construction of a 12 classroom addition is complete. Classroom and collaborative learning space furniture has been placed, and technology components, which include voice, data, interactive devices, wireless access points, intercom and security cameras, etc., are installed and functioning. Construction of the new kitchen and serving area, the renovation of the media center, and then enhancements to the sound and lighting in the stage area are all proceeding according to the schedule and will be completed by August 17th. At the new Oltman Middle School, the exterior facade of the school is complete. Sod has been installed on the football field and around the school perimeter. The softball and remaining field spaces have been seeded, and use will be restricted in this fall to allow the grass to mature for use in the spring of 2019. With the exception of some minor finishing touches and final cleaning, interior construction of classroom and common spaces has been completed. Administrative staff will move into the school the week of July 30th and are busy preparing for the first student event to welcome 6th grade students scheduled for August 21st and 22nd. Students and staff will have access to advanced technology applications throughout the school to include smart TVs instead of smart boards and LCD projectors. And I believe when Bob presented earlier in the school year, it's important for the community to know that this advancement is actually less expensive than if we went back to that technology. So it's a nice move forward and a cost reduction, which is always nice. Enhanced audio systems in the classroom for improved communication and added security and wireless access throughout the school. Security features will include shatter-resistant glass in each of the three primary entries, the main entry and bus entries and activities. Visitors will be buzzed into a locked entry once the school day has started, and through the main office to get in to receive visitors badges, and multiple surveillance cameras are installed. So as we did with all the schools with hardening the glass and making sure that our entry into the building through the main entry is through a well-secured system. Nuevas Fronteras Immersion Elementary School, the renovation of the existing Oldman Middle School into the home of Nuevas Fronteras Spanish Immersion Elementary School has been the most challenging project undertaken this summer. And as Mike mentioned, we're asking a lot in a short amount of time, and we knew that going in, and so did the contractors. The work is being done in 3 phases. The initial phase is for the summer of 2018, requires that we provide adequate classroom and other instructional spaces for the approximately 420 students currently enrolled in the program. That requires substantial renovation of the interior spaces and creation of some temporary administrative offices. Also required is the construction of a new bus parking lot and the installation of a student playground and hard surface play area. The exterior work includes the demolition of a significant portion of the school that is 70 years old to make way for the second phase of construction that will occur throughout the 2018-19 school year. That work will include the construction of a new main entry and administrative office area, the construction of a new kitchen and serving area, a new loading dock, and custodial workroom. The new construction areas will be walled off from the instructional spaces to maintain a safe and secure environment for the staff and students. The final phase of the work will take place over the summer of 2019 and will include the replacement of the mechanical system and the school's roof, as well as further renovations to the interior of the school to provide an additional 6 classrooms for the future growth of the immersion program. Other summer projects we have taking place, while the focus has been on the 3 school construction projects, there's been a number of projects undertaken across the district. As noted earlier, parking lots have been reconstructed at the District Service Center, Hillside Elementary, Pullman Elementary, and Lake Middle School. Lake Middle School and Middleton Elementary have also undergone a significant prairie restoration project undertaken by the South Washington Watershed District that will enhance the stormwater management without the need for large retention ponds. Royal Oaks Elementary and Pullman Elementary received new windows and entry doors, classroom doors, and student lockers over the summer, and Woodbury High School underwent a major wall replacement on the 2nd floor. Finally, Cottage Grove Middle School pool mechanical system has been replaced, and the school has received new and expanded student lockers. So this has been a big undertaking in construction, and as Dan noted, it's important to know that's in our long-term facilities plan. That comes from different funding sources, and so there's a difference between what we're able to do in our maintaining of our schools and our buildings with our general fund budget. And then finally, I just wanted Brian Booth to just give a quick update of the summer professional development that's gone on so far. We still have a lot of work to do.
Ask one quick
sure.
On the construction, are we still with Eastridge's gym floor? We had to replace that. Is that doing okay? And then the other one wasn't it Woodbury's cafeteria? We had a floor problem. Is that all going to be addressed and ready to go for the start of school?
Yes. As far as the floor, Mike may be able to talk more in detail on the process or the progress, but it is moving along as scheduled. It's a little slower than we expected, but we're planning to have that completed, and I'll let Mike just address that.
I actually spoke with the principal today about it and looked at the floor about 2 days ago. All of the wood flooring has been replaced. They are now sanding down all of the existing surfaces. We'll start the relining of the floor next week, and then it needs about a week to cure after that is done. So we'll be very close to finishing within the timeline that we've established for that. So.
And then the Woodbury, that floor buckling, I know we replaced.
That cafeteria floor, we haven't done anything other than we did remove and replace the tiles. We haven't, we didn't have anything budgeted for an upgrade to the flooring. We did have a structural engineer look at it to see if we could ascertain what the cause of the buckling was. He was unable to find any structural deficiencies within the area, so we just replaced the tile with like types of tile. One other comment, since I get the opportunity to be up here again, is that at Woodbury High School, we also have replaced the competitive gym bleachers this summer as well. So,
thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All right, good evening again. This summer we have engaged, as I mentioned earlier, in quite a bit of professional development. In June, 65 3rd through 5th grade and elementary specialist teachers came in and worked with us to start to implement the standards-based instruction progress reports that we'll be rolling out this fall. They'll be coming back again for another day in August to kind of summarize some of all of that work and put it together. We also hosted presenter Rick Wormley. We had a conference that we hosted at the Eastridge Auditorium, and we actually charged other districts to send participants, and so we actually made a little bit of money off of that. So it's the first time our district has hosted a professional development experience like that. It was an incredible opportunity, and then our staff got to attend for free. And so free professional development from a nationwide speaker who is helping us as we progress through standards-based instruction. Next week is actually going to be an incredibly busy week. We start with the Bridges mathematics training that you've heard referenced a couple of times today. We'll have 90 teachers coming in to work through that implementation. And then the AVID Summer Institute is taking place next week. And so I know Molly Lester, who you know and love, is instrumental in getting that organized. And then throughout the month of August, we have ATPPS teacher leader training. We have school improvement plan training. We're working with a group of teachers to train in Schoology and make sure their staff members are supported. We have probationary teacher academy, new teacher academy, our assessment days. And so August is kind of the gauntlet as we're getting our principals ready, our teachers ready, so that our students are ready to come on in at the start of the school year.
12.0 are the future meeting dates. 12.1, August 9th is a regular board meeting, and 12.2, August 23rd is a regular board meeting. 13.0, we will now be going into closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05, Subdivision 3D, the attorney-client privilege to discuss a proposed settlement in the Friedges versus ISD 833 case. And there is a possibility that we will be coming back and adding an action item after our closed session. So I will entertain a motion to approve and go into closed session.
Second.
Okay, so moved by Sharon, second by Ron. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will be back.
Well, I think we got to.
Okay, all right, so I will entertain a motion to reconvene our meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ron, second by Sharon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So we're coming back after our closed session, and we will be adding 10.4 action item regarding the settlement agreement between Friedges versus Independent School District 833. So do I have a motion to add action item 10.4?
So moved.
Second.
So moved by second. Oops. Moved by moved by second.
Yeah.
Moved by Sharon. Second by Ron. Okay. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair Burnett. The board has before it for action a proposed settlement agreement in the Friedges lawsuit that has been discussed in closed session. I would be happy to take questions from the board at this point.
Oh, any questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh gosh, sorry. Roll call. We did. We had Sharon moved to approve 10.4, which was
that
the...
was to amend the agenda.
Oh, that was, you're right, sorry. Oh, so we didn't vote to approve the action item. Okay, sorry. So all those in favor say aye of the action item being added.
Correct.
Say aye.
Yeah, we did on
We
that.
did do that piece. Okay, so now we need to take a motion to approve. Gotcha, sorry. Should have just made notes. So, all right, so we will entertain a motion to approve the settlement agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so Ron moved and Sharon seconded. Sorry, we already asked for questions. Roll call vote.
Pat Driscoll is absent. Heather Hirsch is absent. Michelle Whitty.
Yes.
Katie Schwartz.
Yes.
Sharon Van Leer.
Yes.
Ron Kath.
Yes.
Tracy Brunette.
Yes. Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you.
And if there's nothing further, 14.0, we are adjourned. Thank you. Too many moving parts.
That's right.